If you build it, they will come. Yeah, right. Fellow coders, if you're full of amazing ideas and have created amazing products but can't seem to get them off the ground, welcome. This is the Coders Startup, the show where smart programmers come to learn what it really takes to create, market, and sell a brand new product, and most of all, make it profitable. Now here's your host, successful software entrepreneur, Trevor Page.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coder Startup. This is episode number 9, which just happens to be my favorite number. I don't know about you, Carter the Marketer Johnson. What's your favorite number, buddy?
Man, I don't know.
You don't even have one?
Well, I'm one of those weird people with numbers. Like, I like to divide them into each other and add them and stuff. So there's certain numbers that like fit really, really well subconsciously for me, and then there are other ones where I'm like, oh, that's a nasty number. Don't like it.
It's interesting. No, I don't even know why 9 is my favorite number, but I totally have a customized jersey. I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan because obviously I was born in and around Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and my lovely fiance, her first present that she bought for me at Christmas, for our first Christmas together, I pull out a personalized Toronto Maple Leafs jersey with my last name and my favorite number on it, and I was like, this girl's a keeper, man. I like this one. So, and obviously,
and you know what?
Yeah,
that's a perfect segue into what we're talking about today.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, I think we wanted to basically deliver some value because there's so much that goes on in the heads of entrepreneurs, and we can do a couple different episodes around mindset, but in particular today we're going to be talking about just the mindset, the interaction, what comes up when you go down this journey as it pertains to your network and those around you. So your significant other, your friends, your family, coworkers, everyone and anyone in between, because it's tough, and you kind of have to build that battle armor, if you will. So I think it's valuable for us to kind of pass along some of the stuff that we went through, just so you're not alone, and then other stories we've heard and ways that we've dealt with it.
Yeah, because choosing to become an entrepreneur is something that very few of us do. If you are truly going in, full, all in, everything on the table, and quitting your job, that's a significant life event, and the people around you are going to judge you. Now, some people are going to judge you as being amazing, like, oh my God, good for you, so proud and so impressed that you're taking that leap. But others will completely react in the polar opposite. So do you want to start with one of your stories and how it affected you and how you dealt with it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think way back when. I think for me, it's more just some of the stuff that I've had on a consistent basis, because I made the leap while I was still in school, and never really had the type of job security that you had and you walked away from, which is, I think, even more impressive and a lot more difficult to do, just because you have all the second guessing and the conversations with family, coworkers, and stuff. For me, I think the biggest thing that the biggest turning point was when I finally realized, like, it's okay if my family and friends don't get it. And man, this is hard to articulate. This is like a counseling session, Trevor.
It's gonna be deep.
It finally was okay if they don't get it and they don't see what I see in my mind and the timetable and stuff. And that happened after, repeated startups and failures and new ideas and back to the drawing boards and just setbacks and stuff. And I remember each time, like, my parents would send me, job posts that they come across in their community, or I'd have, them say, have you ever thought about, and it was like so off the wall. I remember one time my stepdad was telling me about, they were hiring air traffic controllers.
Oh man.
and I was just like, and it's all in goodwill and love. They're telling me that because they're like, well, to them, it's probably a lot of it's like, well, he hasn't found himself yet. He's just looking for something to hold on to. But no, I know what I want. And and so hearing, consistently just that type of thinking, or my grandparents, shooting me a text like, hey, so and so opened up so many jobs here. Have you thought about that? And it's just, finally I had to let go and realize, okay, they don't see the vision that we see yet. But, it's like that saying says, some ask, or man, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not even going to try it. I'll think of it later in the show.
So, I mean, this is, and this is by no means rare. I think every entrepreneur that I've spoken to, in depth about these kinds of things, everyone went through this period. And I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that you went through it, because you Carter, started off with entrepreneurship very early on. Whereas, like you mentioned, I had a full-time job. I was a senior software engineer. I was a team lead. I was a Scrum master for our agile, methodology that we were adopting. I was a rising star in this company that I work for, and I quit. And it's like, holy cow! So I mean, for me, for me, it was very mixed. At first, I'm very influenced by my parents, and so I don't know if I could have dealt with that, as well as you have, Carter. But I had to really sell my parents on it for me to take the leap. So I needed to sell them on it first, and obviously my significant other, my girlfriend at the time, I had to make sure that she was okay with this too, because she's going along the ride at the same time for sure. But once I kind of sold them on it, it was a little bit easier, and I could actually take the leap. But you still get flack. So for me, I had a coworker who I won't actually name, but I looked up to this particular coworker, and I've been working with them for many years, and we were very close, but this particular person, it was so different from, like, becoming an entrepreneur and quitting your full-time job was so. It almost seemed like erratic behavior, like I was being completely irrational and
reckless,
mm-hmm. and that's how they perceived it. And they would just project that onto me. They would constantly say, like, "My God, Trevor, what are you doing? Like, this is a mistake. Why are you doing this? Like, don't be an idiot." And this is not, it's not rare. This happens over and over and over with entrepreneurs. And it hurts. It hurts because this is someone, like I said, I looked up to this person, and to have someone who you look up to tell you that you're being an idiot. How do you handle that? So it was hard. It was very hard, to the point where I was so worked up about this transition I had made that it sent me to the doctor. I had to go and see a doctor because I was waking up in the middle of the night with, like, heart palpitations and sweaty palms and shortness of breath and tight chest, and it was like anxiety, and it was panic attacks I was having. So, thankfully, I went to the doctor, and thankfully, obviously, nothing was wrong. But it just, the doctor just said, "Look, Trevor, that's just anxiety." And once I realized it's just in my head, and that there was actually nothing actually seriously wrong with me, then I was able to. It was like that, that was the moment. Or, I had the doctor say, everything's going to be fine, it's just in your head. Once I realized it was just in my head, and that it was probably coming from all the negativity that was coming from the people who just didn't understand my path, I was okay with it. I accepted it, and I said, okay, I accept the fact that they don't, like you said, see the vision. They don't see the path. They don't see that this is what I want to do. This isn't something that I just, on a whim decided to do. This is something that has been building in me for years and years and years. This is who I am meant to be. This is what makes me happy. So once I came to terms with that and embraced it, I haven't looked back. So it's been overall a positive experience in my life, even though you have to go through those hurdles.
And it's important to point out too, it's not their fault that they look at the world that way, because for them it is just as natural to work in the system, work for someone, as it is for us to go about it on our own. Mm-hmm. Just it is every bone in their being, their complete nature is to do exactly what they're doing, and it's for them it's stressful, just the thoughts of what we do, like going out and figuring out how to make our bills on a monthly basis.
The other thing I just thought of now was, this is another quote, again, I'm going to probably butcher it too, but it was something along the lines of, if someone else sees and someone else who maybe who's unhappy in their life and who wants to do something different and make a change in their life, if they see you make a change in your life and you are successful at making the change in your life, then what's stopping them from making the change that they need to make? So it's almost like, for certain people, it's a point of, obviously, like you said, stress and anxiety for them as well. They obviously want you to succeed, but they don't as well, because like I said, then there's no excuse for them, and they want to believe that they do have an excuse, that it is not possible, and they should be happy with being unhappy. Right, so that's another cool thing that I read about that also put my mind at ease with the naysayers and the haters, if you will.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I feel like, we should probably lighten it up a little bit, because it's not always the dark times, so to speak. It's one of those things where you're going to have consistently people, question what you're doing, ask why, give those puzzled looks, just really not be able to relate at all. But then it does get a lot better. I mean, I think I'm at the point now where if my family or friends, if I told them, hey, I'm looking at a job here, and here, then they would be so confused.
Yeah.
They would be even more confused now than they were back then, because they would be like, that's not you, Carter. Like, regardless, go get a job, wherever, busting tables if you have to, but keep on the path. And it's one of those things, once, you make it through all that heavy stuff, and you show people, hey, there's no turning back. I'm fully in this. It becomes one of the things, even when they don't understand it, or they see ideas bounce different directions, or things crash and other things rise, they do become a lot more supportive. And it is one of those things where, like I said, they might not always understand it, but usually you can get supportive responses on a consistent basis. And for me, that took about 6 years, I'd say, to get to a point where it's, consistently, and I had support throughout, but now I'd say where it's at that point where it would be more crazy for me to tell them, hey, I'm looking at a full-time 40-hour work week.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, to keep it on the lighter side of things, there's things that you can do to make sure that you can minimize this negativity. So I mean, obviously you can avoid the people who are giving you the negative stuff, and that's what I just eventually did. I just unfortunately just stopped talking with the person who was being very negative towards me, and I'm hoping that at some point in the future I can come back and rekindle that relationship. But we'll see. I'm not making it a priority by any means. It's not something I lose sleep about. But the other thing you could do on the other side of it, the other aspect, is to seek people who are like-minded. You can seek people who are also entrepreneurs and who share in the vision of wanting to work for yourself and build something for yourself and make something of your life in terms of something that you built. So, there's absolutely this topic of masterminds that came up early on in my entrepreneurial career, and I didn't know what a mastermind group was, but essentially, it's a group of people that you get together with and meet up with on a consistent basis. It could be once a week, could be maybe twice a week, could be twice a month, who knows? But it's usually a smaller group of people, anywhere between 3 to maybe at the very, very most, maybe 8 people. What would you say would be the upper limit for a mastermind group?
I'd say 8 to 10. I know some that are a dozen strong, and they just rotate in and out based on people's schedules, just because it works out.
Okay. But yeah, that's I mean, we Carter and I are in a mastermind group together, and it's really incredibly valuable, because not only are you able to feed off other people's positivity and other people's success stories and even failures, because that's something that is very valuable to learn about, but you learn so much, and you develop friendships that'll probably last a lifetime, because you're in the trenches together and you're doing something together and building something together, and that really means something, and it's really important, I think, to surround yourself with the people who understand you and who are like-minded. So that was a big turning point for me as well, as to that starting up that mastermind group and getting into that routine and that groove.
Yeah, I've got some tips as well. This is just like a little micro level tip that you can do, but I find it definitely helps bridge the gap for people who are not in the entrepreneurship world. Especially if you consistently find yourself having this conversation with family or friends, and they still, they just can't understand, can't relate. One of the things you can do is point out whoever it was who started the company they work for or where they are, working, whoever that founder was. You can say, hey, I want to be like, so and so. I want to be like Larry Page of Google. I want to be, and for them, they see that person, they see what that person did. And I found that was a good way of just kind of making a little shift and showing them, hey, this is possible. Because at the end of the day, no matter what, those people are working on or who they're working for, somebody had the idea and the audacity to go after it. So that's a really good way to bridge the gap and kind of help them understand this is, you have a similar vision.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing that I found really helpful, especially dating my long-term girlfriend now, was really setting expectations. Being in your late 20s, you're seeing a lot of people. It's the time where you see a lot of your friends and stuff get the promotions that warrant, a house or new cars or just the lifestyle that they can afford going out every other night and really spending money. And for me, as difficult as it was, just being transparent about that and being like, I got to make payroll or I got to, put down money on this. I don't have the money for us to go do X, Y, and Z or, to go out on the weekends and drop 200 on a Saturday night. Just really setting those expectations and finding other ways to get creative around that and set aside time that's together and special and everything else, but you're not shelling out the house to do it. That I think really helped just with my inner stress, if anything else. So that was something that I definitely would recommend as it pertains to the dating and significant other area.
Yeah, and I always remember the quote, and again, I'm going to butcher this one, but it's something along the lines of, entrepreneurship is about living your life for a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. And that is something that's really stuck with me and has really been the guiding light, because entrepreneurship is about sacrifice. If you think
Totally.
that you're going to start a business and not have to sacrifice anything, well, that probably means that you have a really, really large bank account, because that's, it's all about sacrifice. And because there's no guarantee that you'll become a success after 1 year, that you'll become a success after 5 years. Okay. I was listening to an episode of, what was it called? The Eventual Millionaire with Jamie Tardy. And she was interviewing someone who had gone through business and has had ups and downs to the point where they didn't actually become fully and predictably successful until their 25th year of business. 25th
And
year.
Yeah, and you study anyone who's really knocked it out of the park. And one thing they almost all of them have in common, and you do get the exceptions like Mark Zuckerberg. I guess you could say he knocked it out of the park pretty early.
Yeah.
People like that, but consistently the ones who build the empires, they have what's referred to as the 10 dark years, the years where it was just awful. It was no vacation. It was a grind. It was losing a lot of friendships, or it was being doubted by those that are the closest to you. And, I'm not saying that you're going to go out and have the worst decade of your life, but just keep that in mind that there's, everyone's kind of paid their dues and been through it. So stay strong even when things are looking very, very glim.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something, like you said, it's about setting expectations when it comes to your partner. With me, this is something I figured I would be able to probably replace my income, and this is a very lofty goal, but I was hoping to be able to replace my income after 2 years. Okay, so I had I think it was about a 6-month runway of money in such a way that if I made absolutely no income whatsoever, I'd be able to live for 6 months. But I was hoping that I would be able to start making a little bit of income, and I can push that back and push that back and push that back to the point where, at the 2-year mark, I would be able to, would have been able to replace my income. Of course, we now know I'm past my 2-year, and I have not replaced my income. But that doesn't mean that I'm stopping, because I'm very extremely passionate about the things that I do. I love the things that I do, and I honestly can't picture myself going back to the things I used to do, like driving to work every day and dealing with corporate politics and all that stuff. I can't picture myself doing that anymore. So now I'm willing to do the grind and put the work in to make sure that I don't get back there. So
totally.
But you need to talk to your significant other about this, because it hit a point where I don't know if we want to go back to the dark side of this, but I want to be realistic with you guys. There are definitely going to be dark times. I remember specifically a time when my fiance was in the bathroom on the floor crying because we were losing so much money so quickly. I don't know. Do you want to get into that story about one of our failed businesses?
Yeah, we can do that. I think it's fun.
So Carter and I, with another partner, started up a business around a certain product. It doesn't really matter what the specific details are, but we went into it with the best of intentions. We put the work in. There was a lot of ups and downs there, but there was a lot of ups. There's a lot of potential for growth and for success. But really, at the end of it, when we hit the end of the business, we were probably hemorrhaging what, $500, $600, $700 a month. If that, it's something along the lines of that. I forget how much it was.
Each, I think. No, it was more than that.
It was more than that?
It was
maybe that is
it was
each.
It was getting to the point where it was, we were bleeding.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was $500 that was coming out of my bank account every month. So that, you can imagine. So when you're already, if I'm not bringing in an income because I don't have a full-time job, and on top of that, I'm losing $500 a month. You can only imagine the stress that put on my relationship. So, it correlated, or what's the word I'm looking for? It came to the point where, my fiance was on the floor crying because we were just losing all the money, and thankfully she's very very understanding of the situation. She more or less knew what she was getting herself into, but it's very important to be able to also say, okay, hold on, this isn't working. So there comes a point where you need to say the juice is not worth the squeeze, and you need to pull the plug. And I think from a point of entrepreneurship, that happens all the time.
Yeah,
failures happen all the time, and there's no shame in it, because hopefully you'll learn something from the whole.
I can't tell you how many businesses I've had that have failed.
Oh yeah,
I really cannot count. Like, somebody was asking me the other day, and I was like, I have no idea how many ideas or things that I've invested a little bit in time in just to pursue to come crashing down. And I think it's important to say this as well. It seems like when these dark times do come about, it's one of those, when it rains it pours, because you had a ton of other stuff going on in terms of,
that's right,
like mortgages.
My property
else.
taxes. I got hit with back taxes. So my monthly mortgage, which I was, I've been paying this mortgage, whatever it was, for 2 years or 3 years, and it was predictable. And then all of a sudden one day it went from whatever it was to $500 more a month, and I was like, what? And I called the bank and I was like, what the heck is going on? And they're like, oh, back taxes, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so this is going to be what I pay every month from now on? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, God. So, and it's true. When it rains, it pours. It all hit at the same time.
And especially if you're trying to really just at least hedge the financial stress, because we're getting a little, away from what we were talking about initially. But
that's true. I
will chime in with this, because when the finances are taken care of, when you can pay your bills on time and everything, it's a lot less stressful. So, and again, this goes back to like what Trevor was saying, just not putting stress on your significant other. I would definitely recommend putting and getting some sort of side hustle in place, whether it's, again, bussing tables, serving coffee, doing some type of part-time work, even if it's for just 20 hours a week, where you have that predictable income to cover your base expenses. If you do that, you're going to be a lot more sharp when you are working on your legacy project, your true love project, so to speak. So yeah, take that for what it is. And
I think that's a very, very good point. And when I was working full time, I was obviously building my business, in the part time, in evenings and weekends. I was like so committed to my building my business, because it was like I was feeling the pain of working the full time job every day, 5 days a week, sometimes more than that, depending on the release schedules and whatnot. But I was feeling that pain, so that fueled the fire to build the business. And what I noticed was, and I've mentioned this, is that once you've left the corporate world and gone all in for yourself, sometimes you can get a little bit complacent and you sort of forget what the hustle used to be like. And thankfully I've reignited my fire, and I'm going firing on all cylinders. But that can happen too. So it's good to keep everything in perspective. To also not only you're bringing in a predictable income, which is great, but you're also helping to fuel that fire for your dream. So yeah, definitely good advice, good tip that you can bust tables or whatever. Or if you're a programmer, maybe just pick up a client. You could go to like an entrepreneurial meetup. I found this is a great way to do it. Oh yeah. I went to a meetup of entrepreneurs, and you can network with them and say, you're an entrepreneur yourself and whatnot, and you can talk about entrepreneurial things and learn some stuff from other people. But you can also say, by the way, I'm also a wicked programmer, and I have a whole bunch of experience building applications. And then that way you can sort of, hopefully get paid your regular hourly rate, or maybe even more than you used to get paid at your old job, to sort of help, supplement the loss of income. But yeah, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Because I wish programming was a skill I have, or it's one of those things I'm trying to convince my brother who's in high school right now to really pick up, because I go to a lot of just the tech meetups here in the Boulder and Denver area, and consistently every meeting, I would say there's 5 to 10 people who stand up, say, hey, we're looking for a programmer to do X, Y, and Z. You can work part-time, full-time, whatever. And a lot of these companies have either venture backing or something, so they're paying really, really well. So definitely check that out, and that's just an idea for you to get that rolling as well before you make the full leap. Yeah, and with that, we might want to just bring it back full circle, just to really go over everything that we've said, because we got a little off topic. But again, we wanted to provide some sort of value for all that mind chatter and mental ruckus that occurs when you're going about the entrepreneurship path. And looking at some of the things we've talked about, we talked about setting expectations, really, being transparent and letting your at least significant other kind of know what's going on.
Communication is key.
Communication is key.
Yep.
Yes. The relating to your family, friends, significant other, just pointing out someone that they already know who has achieved a similar fate that you're trying to build. That's a really good way to kind of help them understand what it is you're going after. Trevor, you had a great recommendation of just really finding other like-minded entrepreneurs that you can consistently meet up with, talk things out. Just somebody you have in your corner who knows what you're going through. And man, that's valuable.
Yep. And then plus, if you want to have a side hustle as well to sort of supplement the loss of income, if needed, definitely a great thing to do, because like I was saying, helps fuel the fire to make you remember why it is that you're doing what it is that you're doing. That's definitely something I should probably look into doing, because I wouldn't mind bringing in some more cheddar on the side, if you will.
Hey, I got a job for you if you're interested.
Oh, there you go. See that?
We're on our 5th coder right now.
Yeah.
We need one of these stars in the audience to throw in a resume for some coding jobs.
There you go. Apparently,
I'm
a very reasonable $200 an hour. So there you go. All for you.
So you can get it done in 3 hours.
That's
Let's
right.
do it.
Okay, cool. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully that provides some value for you guys going forward. And just remember, you're not in this alone. This is something that happens to everyone. Even the best of us. I mean, you go back and listen to all these stories of every entrepreneur who's now a billionaire. They all had to start somewhere, and they probably all went through the exact same thing that we've been talking about today. So you're not alone. Stick with it, stay passionate, and don't give up. But most importantly, if you do happen to fail, which you probably will, learn from those mistakes, and that way you don't have to hide in your shell and think that you're a huge failure, because you're not. You're only a failure if you accept the failure and just quit and don't move on from it. So learn something from the experience, learn something from us, and go out there and try to knock something out of the park. How's that sound?
Good stuff, man.
Cool. So go ahead and hop on over to coderstartup.com/9 for all of the show notes for this particular episode. We'll throw in any links that we talked about and any materials that we think will be beneficial or of benefit to you with respect to this topic. We will throw that into that page. So again, coderstartup.com/9. Hop on over and enjoy your stay, because we're going to be here for quite a while longer, talking about many, many more topics, all relating to entrepreneurship, because we got plenty of things in the bank that I'm super, super psyched to talk about. So can't wait to see you listeners into the next episode, and you as well, Carter. See you next time, buddy.
Until next time.
Peace.